Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Tiki here.
And Blue Dragon 5.
And Jacob Gulliver.
Ladies and gentlemen, as we find ourselves on the cusp of Disney's big venture into the world of streaming, even courting a war in the process, we thought it'd be nice to stay up to date on the ever-growing catalog and roll on what's a must or a bust on Disney Plus. And tonight, we're taking one last look at What If Season 1 as we go over our wrap-up and final thoughts and sorts on all the episodes. All right, guys, so I actually kind of missed, kind of a scattered selection of What If episodes, especially the finale. And I gotta say, the finale, for my money, I'm one of the people that was disappointed in it, just to get my opinions out there. I thought that there really wasn't a good enough reason for the specific characters to be chosen. Like, hey, we're gonna pick Party Thor out of all the possible Thors that we could have picked. I thought the interactions just felt kind of off. I thought that Ultron was like really nerfed. I don't know. Like, if I'm being honest, I think the finale was probably my least favorite episode of the whole run. And to me, it kind of left a sour taste of, say it with me, Squidward, mediocre to, an otherwise pretty damn good season. I honestly like this. It's funny because I feel like with this show, some of the episodes that are big fan favorites are some of the ones that I kind of have ranked a little lower, and yet I really love episodes like Zombies and I mean, honest to God, even Party Thor, which seems to be like unanimously like the least favorite among people. I really like the Party Thor episode just because to me it's like it was really fun to see the all the teen movie cliches done on a cosmic level. So overall, I don't know, man. I really think that the team up Avengers thing got a little too big for its britches. I mean, Gamora was just kind of thrown in there for I don't know if Dragon. I don't know if you have an explanation for that or what. It's like, hey, we're missing an episode. The finale really didn't land right for me, and it kind of tainted a lot of the rest of the show. But overall, I feel like as an anthology, it did work. With every anthology, there's going to be stronger episodes than others. So Gulliver, we only talked to you about this Doctor Strange episode, and we'll get to it, folks. But I think all three of us are kind of have unpopular opinions about that Doctor Strange episode because people are just unanimously just like number one with the bullet. It's by far the best, and I'm sitting here like, not really. So Gulliver, what do you think of the season as a whole?
I'd say it was about 50-50 hit-miss rate for me. There's a few that I really liked. I think the Star-Lord T'Challa episode was by far the standout best, in my opinion. But it is kind of it goes very strongly with my long-standing statement that the Guardians of the Galaxy would be way better if they were not being led around by an asshole womanizer all the time who is a moron, and instead we're led by a compassionate, charismatic, kick-ass hero. So it kind of was all of the Guardians things that I had hoped for in the regular universe. Part of it is just like my personal taste with a lot of the other ones is that like I'm not a guy who loves like tragedy. I think there's beauty in tragedy and I can appreciate the artistic value of it, but like superheroes are such like a power fantasy and like an escapist fantasy for me that I don't like watching alternate versions of heroes that I know succeed, fail, or die. That just it's not fun as much in my mind. And I think the artistry of the show, like the animation styles and some of like the attention to detail in the writing and like character designs is awesome, very deserving of applause and award. But there's certainly episodes where just like, okay, so we know that like 5 more heroes are going to die and then this ending is going to happen. Cool. Great. You can take me to the next episode now.
Dragon.
All right, so reflecting on What If Season 1, look, for me, when this thing was announced, it was a wish come true for me because I've always wanted to see what ifs applied to the MCU. Like, two kind of great loves of mine. I love the MCU and I love what if. And just it was always like a no brainer. It's like, they'll never do it though. And oh my god, they're finally going to do it. So
Yeah.
I was hyped. I mean, on the whole, I did love this. I will admit though, could have been tighter in places for sure. I do feel, I don't know, given that they worked on these both at the same time, I don't know how much difference there's going to be within season two, because I'm assuming there's working on the production as a whole. But then again, there was, as you can kind of tell this season, that something was missing. There was an episode missing. So that said, I don't know how much like room for improvement there's going to be next season. But in regards to like there were inaccuracies that I do feel were not easily overlooked. There were some issues with the writing here and there. Again, on the whole, I mean, I really liked it. I wish it was better received because I was just kind of like a little crestfallen, like, oh man, people aren't digging the what ifs. And I mean, look, that's because to me this was such a delight. But you know what? When you think about it, after it's all said and done, what if as a concept is always it is it's going to have varying results, and just given the multiversal element of the show, you're going to have a multiverse's worth of reactions and opinions, because again, like, there's subjectivity all over the place with what if. Now people are going to say, well, I don't know if I like the direction that went, or I don't know, I would have gone a different way with it. And again, when you're talking about alternate paths and alternate kind of realities and directions, you're never going to please everybody. So I really should have considered that when the thing was coming out. Oh yeah, of course people are going to have dissenting opinions on certain episodes, certain ones being like, oh, this played great, and then the opposite. I do wish. I mean, it sounds like Disney was supportive. Disney and particularly, Feige and the kind of the Marvel camp. They were very supportive of this, which is good. But I still wish Disney had enough faith in this to let the episodes be longer in length, which I think might have helped in the writing process, might have helped in like, okay, well, we can kind of add some breathing room, kind of develop certain things, perhaps they kind of work our way out of some writing holes a little better. So I wish we kind of gave it, like, I know it was kind of a gamble, like the first time we're doing kind of animation proper with the MCU and actually having it count within the grander whole, but it just feels like, guys, let's just throw everything at it. I mean, maybe we could have gotten, I'm not saying every voice, but we could have gotten a few key voices, at very least one voice in particular I'll rant about later. you know but yeah, I mean, again, outside, you'll notice like the Disney Plus series talent, we got all of them because clearly, well, they're in to do the Disney Plus series. Of course, we're going to be able to get them. So we got all of that. Just not so much of the talent outside of that, which I felt was kind of apparent. And one thing I want to speak of, since Gulliver, I think Gulliver kind of circled around this. I noticed something on the rewatch and kind of looking back on the season, is that I think something that might have hurt the first season is we grouped the episodes really oddly and in a pattern, which I don't think was wise. Where we start off with like two swaps, like, okay, we're going to swap who the like what if what if Peggy Carter were Captain America, and what if T'Challa were Star Lord, and then we move on to the tragedy section where we have the downer endings and like the apocalyptic scenarios, and we're killing characters, and then we have basically our two-part finale with kind of Thor as kind of the breather in between. So yeah, it's. I don't know if grouping them like that was necessarily wise, because it does kind of lead to what I think what Gulliver was speaking about. You're going to get a little burned out in the tragedy. So when it's kind of down to, oh God, are we going to end on a tragedy or not? It's going to be kind of out the window at that point.
Yeah, that's definitely a good point. I felt like I like when we got to episode 3, I felt like it was really like, oh man, this is like very different than just character swapping. But
Which
then,
is wise, but then we do it again and again.
yeah, right.
I mean, as cool as it is, I mean, that's what I'm saying. If they I don't know I don't know what we're getting next season, or just within this season, even if we just could have like maybe kind of spice it up, like switched off more instead of just like, okay, here's a stretch of this, stretch of that, little comedy, stretch back to the action.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's what I'm feeling. Now, before we dive into this, I want to shout out the showrunners, because we kind of do that when we do these kind of season spoiler cast things.
Mhm.
Because we didn't do that at the top of this. So AC Bradley, and AC Bradley was the showrunner on this. She's a writer on the Troll Hunters series, the Guillermo del Toro series on Netflix, which is really good. And she's going to be I don't know if she's show running it, but she's going to be producing and writing on the Ms. Marvel show coming up.
Sweet.
And they kind of, so far it seems, I can't really think of a show that's really broken the pattern yet. The Disney Plus Marvel series have been kind of like trying to get one director specifically, if not like one to very few directors on their series to kind of keep like a consistent kind of movie-like vision. And Brian Andrews was the director on all these episodes. And Brian Andrews, for the kids out there, you may or may not recognize his name. Brian Andrews is a board artist extraordinaire. He's one of Gendy's boys, Gendy Tartakovsky's. He did Samurai Jack, Clone Wars, and the big thing that brings him to the MCU kind of side of things. He boarded a large collection of MCU films from the Infinity Saga. I assume what happened is Gendy Tartakovsky boarded the climax of Iron Man 2, so I imagine he maybe brought one of his top guys with him, and they liked what he did, and they kept him around for as many of the films as they could. That's why he boarded on Avengers, Guardians, and Infinity War and Endgame and such. So, yeah. Yep.
All right, let's get right into it.
Yeah. Memory lane time.
So, episode 1, it was one of the first concepts that we heard about. And I got to be honest with you guys, I still really like this one. I think the internet as a whole was like, oh, it's just retelling the first Avengers, but with a gender swap. And I'm like, yeah, but
that's what the title is. What do you expect?
I'm sorry, there was no freaking Cthulhu monster in Captain America, and it would have been a better movie.
Gulliver,
if
it's not me, it's the internet. All right,
yeah.
Blame the internet.
just say it.
Look, to me, the big thing that really sold me on this episode, and really kind of like in general, just what if as a whole, was we get the Hydra Stomper, man. I mean, it's like that was such a cool idea to me, and it was such a cool dynamic that it was like kind of like the a proto Iron Man. And I don't know, I just felt like this episode really worked with the Howard Stark was really well utilized. Sebastian Stan, I'll admit, awkward as fuck verbal delivery in some spots.
Again, he's new to voice acting. He's new to it.
Of England. But overall, I had a lot of fun with this. I really think that it's I really think it twists up the story in just enough fun ways that I thought it was a good kind of like introductory point.
You know me, huge fan of Captain America and the MCU, and especially Agent Carter. And I was very hyped for you doing the Captain Carter story. And we demonstrate, the big thing I think that really works with What If is, okay, we make one change that leads to the domino effect. That's the charm of What If.
I feel like the further we got into the season, the further that was kind of taken away, honestly.
Well, what do you mean?
I mean, like, by the time we get to something like the Party Thor episode, I feel like it's kind of just like an afterthought.
Right, the whole, like, the specific change being...
Yeah, the specific change, yeah.
I mean, yeah, here it's very straightforward. And again, this is very much, I would equate, for the naysayers of this episode, I would just equate it to, it's the warm-up for What If. We're the litmus test to show you what we might be... Well, essentially, we're in for... At the basic level. Okay, here's essentially what a What If is, with a very simple and iconic character swap. But okay, a lot of people love the Captain Carter story, which has been explored here and there. We're gonna use it because we have a very great take on Peggy Carter, which essentially gives us that Captain Carter thing in the comics we've gotten. So it's all full circle. But yes, Tiki, the Hydra Stomper, beyond awesome. Just with kind of our alternate world building here, I've always theorized that the arc reactor was inspired by the Tesseract. So seeing that put into practice is just delighted me to no end. And man, I bought a Funko of the money shot from this episode, which is Captain Carter riding on the Hydra Stomper in midair, because it's so freaking awesome. And I mean, the big thing for me, it hit me with certain what ifs. I love how we kept the relationship between Peggy Carter and Steve Rogers, really on brand. I loved it. I loved it, even though the circumstances were different. That relationship still persisted. And maybe it's like there's like a not really a real nitpick. It was like I was like cursing the screen at Howard Stark. No, you interrupted the kiss, man. What are you doing?
Right.
Yeah,
they're never gonna see each other again. Come on. What are you doing, Howard? But yeah, I did. This is unfortunately, and it's a shame that was in episode 1, where it demonstrated two nitpicks with the series throughout, where we had some holes in the writing. Big hole that was kind of unavoidable is, hey, we made one change, and because we drew so much emphasis to the one change thing, I can't just say, okay, well, we have a few other changes. Like, no, they said one specific change that then has the domino effect, where they got the years wrong on the Tesseract to kind of work their way around a story problem, which still just makes it a bigger story problem. You're like, hey, okay, we have Captain Carter, and then we find the Tesseract. That ain't how it went. We started that movie off with the Red Skull. We found the Tesseract, then we did the Captain America. That happens a year before our story happens. So we're making kind of some mistakes like that here and there in the episodes, and also we're having an aesthetic thing where they're trying to differentiate the styles from the movies to kind of make them pop a little bit more as alternate. But it's like, hey, the Hydra uniforms were very different from what we had here. It's not that I disagree; it was a better choice to make them like this, but it doesn't match up, which is kind of a problem.
Yeah.
Yep. Big thing we set up, just kind of overall, we got Zola. We kind of set up Zola here. He's going to come back a few times, and Bucky was saved from his Winter Soldier fate, perhaps to be taken by another somehow. But we'll get there.
You have to wonder, like, how many times. Oh, gosh, I'm forgetting the actor's name. But
Sebastian Stan?
No, the guy who plays Zola.
Oh, you mean Toby Jones?
Toby Jones, thank you. Yeah, you gotta wonder how many times he's like, well, that was fun. I'm glad I had some fun with Marvel, and then just like goes and does a bunch of other stuff. They call him like, hey, do you want to be that character again for like 5 minutes? Just because it's such a fun character, but also it's like it feels relatively minor in terms of like the scope of stuff. But like they keep calling him back, and rightly so. He does a good job with the performance.
I love where we go with him later on, especially.
Oh yeah.
Well, by the way, Gulliver, because we have you here now, and we didn't during the first one. What do you think? Mm-hmm. Is that tentacle monster? That's Shumagorath, you think, right?
Could be.
Kind of or Cthulhu, kind of very Mike Mignola-esque, like the opening the Hellboy sort of
sure.
idea. I mean, which again
very
was
much
set during World War II.
Vibe.
Not that I'm complaining, but
Oh yeah, I don't. No complaints whatsoever. I love the kind of pulp hero versus unspeakable horror vibe. That works for me just as a whole thing. Yeah, I mean, it could be Shumagorath. I don't know if they're gonna go that route, but it's possible.
This is the fact that we've seen that tentacle monster at least like 3 times in this season. I honestly. Rewatching the episodes, and we'll get to this more with the last one, I think there's a lot, they're throwing a lot at you for Doctor Strange too, which I think, again, the background, we are setting up certain things for the other MCU projects, I'm sure, like trying to get people acclimated to or thinking about it, so when it happens, I recognize that. A little subtle kind of seeds being planted, a little kind of, Farmer Feige, if you will. All right. Well, unless you have anything else, Gulliver, I guess we'll...
Yeah, I don't have anything else specific I wanted to add to that.
Okay, yeah, let's transition.
All right, Gulliver, why don't you start with this, because this is your favorite one.
Yeah.
I mean, aside from like the kind of mediocre premise moment of like, why would T'Challa go with the space people? After that moment, the rest of the episode was fantastic. Just the layers of like mystery and the layers of like the heist quality, the reuniting with all the characters we're sort of familiar with from the Guardians lore, and seeing Thanos as like still a little bit over the top, but just as a buddy to the rest of the crew.
He's got a nickname, Gulliver. Did you hear about the nickname on Thanos?
No.
It's okay. So Josh Brolin calls him SoCal Thanos.
I love it. Yeah. And then bring back the Collector as well, and just like, really, because like that's the way that you want the Collector to be. Like Benicio del Toro's performance is just fine, but he's kind of subdued in the movies, in the Guardians movies. And you want the Collector to be like a little more over the top, like weird, vain, bougie dude who has all this weird junk from around the universe. So I think they let loose with that a little bit and gave some room to play, which I think was really fun. And then, being able to see T'Challa discover this old, and Korath, like seeing Korath fanboy. Like,
yeah, that was great.
So good.
And it's so ironic when you think about it. The original voice really for Black Panther Djimon Hounsou, and he is interacting with the new Black Panther.
Right,
It's kind of
yeah.
funny.
And of
That
course,
guy,
just
like-
the Chadwick of it all, just in general.
Yeah. His charisma just it's gonna live far, far, far beyond his years. His charisma is so powerful. And I mean the other like just sucky note is like we get to watch Black Panther die like 2 more times in this season. Just like, oh fuck, stop! How dare you?
Well, no, he lived that other time though. He was alive at the end of that one. He only
Yeah,
died
but
in the-
like, but still, the moment like happens, and you're like, oh, don't make me do this again.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, getting to see his journey and like, and finding the Wakandan ship, and learning that this, his relationship was based on this duplicity, and still finding a way to,
Yeah, he
do some
wasn't. He
diplomacy.
wasn't angry at Yondu at the end of things. They
Right?
hatched
Yeah,
things up
finding a way
nicely.
to use some diplomacy to get out of that tricky situation instead of just screaming like a 4-year-old and shooting him in the head.
Man, why you gotta take all the pot shots?
No,
and
you
Lord,
know
come
what? I
on.
like the Guardian movies, but I agree with that point.
Yeah,
Come on, it was up to kill Gamora.
yeah. You hurt my mommy. All right. Anyway,
Just
Dragon,
Gulliver.
you know what? Dragon, you got to admit Guardians 2 falls apart by the end as much as I like it.
I was referring to Infinity War on that one.
Oh, yeah, you're right. I'm sorry.
so yeah, I think that's the strongest one for me, just because it felt different enough that it was, we still had an element of like mystery and excitement around like what was going to happen. But it was similar enough that it still felt very grounded within the MCU as established. Like that could have been pre-Guardians, pre-Black Panther coming out. That could have been a story that totally could have happened. And I think the first episode felt the same way. And something like, the Party Thor episode, like kind of knew where things were going, and like the stuff in the middle wasn't like as good, and like
This had more of
the
a
Marvel
sense of
Zombies, you
adventure.
kind of knew where things were going by the at the end. There's a few little like reveals, but just they telegraphed a little harder what the ending was going to be. So I think it does the best job of telling a standalone story of the set of episodes, if that makes sense.
Part of me feels like this might have been a stronger opening for What If had it had this kind of led the charge. Nothing against the previous episode, but I feel more people would have gotten on board had we started with T'Challa's Star-Lord, because again, this was another kind of hype-worthy kind of like What If kind of pitched in the trailer,
Yeah.
And again, it's full of the charm of What If. This one had major kind of like really expanding the universe and seeing kind of like the ripple effect, and that there's dominoes falling here of okay, what if we had basically if T'Challa, that just the singular idea really charmed the heck out of me in the episode was okay. What if we took the character of Star-Lord? Because everyone's wondering why T'Challa and Star-Lord? Well, it's a very simple idea. What if you gave Star-Lord the respect he thought he deserved with a very humble and regal presence, which is T'Challa.
Yeah.
So just there's something kind of genius about that pitch to me, and also now retroactively very touching component to the episode with the Bosun's performance, which in itself is a great kind of like very kind of Errol Flynn kind of Robin Hood performance in itself, which has so it adds like kind of that sense of adventure as well as the comedy, where Thor is more comedy than adventure, and yeah, it has that going on as well. And again, you have those those touching moments where he finds the Wakandan ship, and I love that he patches things he patches things up between like he sits down with his father and Yondu together.
Mhm.
He doesn't like throw him under the bus or anything. And what I really was impressed by at the episode, especially on the rewatch, is the ending with the ego finding Peter Quill, the Dairy Queen, where his parents met. By the way, so that's literally where they met, because it became a Dairy Queen over the years.
That was honestly, to me, probably like I got really sick of the Twilight Zone, like, and our story's wrapped up except for this. Ooh, But I really like that stinger, though. I thought that stinger really worked.
And here's why I think it really works. It's because it's like, look at all kind of the fun adventure you just had, and look at all like the good that T'Challa Starlet has done. Like the Ravagers have a dental plan. Thanos was talked out of this big like I'm gonna this just his half genocidal plan, or his genocidal plan to half the universe. That Drax has a family to go home to. He's a bartender. He's a happy bartender. Very photogenic, and but again, you're reminded of the cost at the end, though. The cost of like, well, not everyone's going to walk away happy here. Yeah, poor Peter Quill's going to become a battery.
Right.
So yeah, you have there's a cost. And here's the thing: I love this episode. Is one of my top three. If I had like the kind of off the top of my head, like think of what the best three episodes were. Whether it's number one or not, it's harder to say because there's some really good contenders throughout. But the issue I had with it is, I think all the dominoes fall, but there's just a couple. There's a buy that just kind of throws me off. I don't buy the Collector as like becoming a massive crime boss, filling like the Thanos void. The Thanos power vacuum, as it were. I'm not sure if I love that action scene, so I love what we do with him. I just don't know if I buy that we make him into that, because I love like using the MC. I love the weaponizing her Easter eggs with like, oh my god, look at all the he's Hela's headdress that brings like the Necromancer sword and like Korg's arm and all that cool stuff. And with that too, it's like I don't buy that he defeated both Captain America and Thor. I don't buy like the shield and the hammer on the shelf too. And also we kind of forget about Ronan. Like, wait a minute, so Ronan is still a player, which I guess kind of makes sense. Like he himself was going after the stone himself anyway. He was kind of half in, half out with betraying Thanos anyway. So I guess that tracks. But it's, as I'm saying, like there are a couple, like those are the hanging chads of the episode that kind of bug me. But again, does not take away from the episode at all. Like the enjoyment and the fun, like the sticky fingers of it all. And also, how wonderful is it that we have Chadwick Boseman in one of his final roles interacting with Howard the Duck?
Yeah,
and treating him with respect.
I mean, you know me, guys. I'm a huge fan of Howard the Duck in the MCU. I'm a huge geek for it. So that's like one of the reasons why I like Party Thor as much as I do. So yeah, Howard the Duck and Chala interacting with each other, something I didn't know I needed in my life.
Yeah, it's just that's what I'm saying. It's like, so never in a million years you would have imagined that interaction we got in some way, shape, or form. Like he treated him like with kind of a respect, and it was like as he would. It was wonderful.
All right. So what if the world lost its mightiest heroes? So you know what? I hate to make this comparison, but it is a very thin comparison. But there's a little bit of a Muppets Now syndrome of like, this would be a great one-off of like, if this was the only one where heroes were dying left and right, but it's not. That being said, I do think this is a really good murder mystery. And
how does that relate to Muppets Now?
Because Muppets Now has some good sketch concepts that just get kind of hammered into the ground.
It's a bit of a reach, Tiki, but
I know it's a bit of a reach.
Yeah, but again, in terms of
like this one a lot, though. I really like the Hank Pym reveal, even though it's a little cynical. I just think it's. I just think the idea of creepy, unhinged Hank Pym is just. I don't know. It's just a cool concept. I don't think this is. I don't think this is as tight of a story as the first two, but I still think it was pretty interesting.
Yeah, I think the whole plot line with Loki and stuff, just like, this feels unnecessary. You don't need to bring Loki into this. This feels like a very Earth, like non-powered Shield-esque mystery. And like the mystery was fine, but at the end of the day, they killed a bunch of people that I enjoy, and I'm just like, all right, I don't care anymore. Yeah.
I mean, here's what I liked about it. I liked the big thing I was geeking out about with the episode was that we found a way to, which we kind of done up to this point, even like with the T'Challa Star-Lord. We've repurposed moments in kind of parts of the film, but we've kind of found a way to kind of redo it or kind of do it in a different way. And in this case, we've taken some abandoned concepts or some little known concepts, and we found a way to kind of make them work. Like Nick Fury's Big Week, like the tie-in comic, that kind of because the MCU can never settle on. For a while, the MCU, because of that Spider-Man Homecoming timeline thing, like, things get all kind of jumbled up. Like, wait, did Phase 1 happen in a week or not? It's
Right.
So the point being, that always kind of went out the window. We found a way to kind of make it work again through this what if, and I thought that was really great. Like, hey, that's a great framing device. And doing like a murder mystery, like if you're going to do that and apply it to, okay, so we know what happens here, and we have Nick Fury as kind of our through line because of this Big Week thing. But then what if Nick Fury sucked at his job pretty much? Like, what if just everything, everything went wrong? And honestly, I like the meta contextual thing of like, hey, what if Phase 1 did not get off the ground as successfully as it did, but literalized? Like, what if it went completely wrong? And we also have just this really cool kind of thing of like, okay, we've kind of have these kind of branches of the what if itself, where okay, it's sort of like with the Avengers getting killed off, they're also kind of a variety of different what ifs within the movies. Okay, so what if Iron Man did die in Iron Man 2, which we kind of do there? What if Ruffalo was in Incredible Hulk? We get kind of like some bonus what ifs in there. And the big one for me, ever since I saw the first Thor, what if Hawkeye did take that shot? We did it.
Yeah.
I want to highlight someone I think did one of the best jobs this season in terms of the sound alike, voice acting replacement. Lake Bell is an amazing did an amazing job replicating Scarlett Johansson. I think it's rather seamless. She did a great job.
Yeah.
Let's see. Again, of course, the cause and effects at play too. Just like. I really like how, okay, so without Thor in Loki's way, Loki kind of becomes like the golden boy. He doesn't have to take over anything, really. He just kind of, the power falls to him. And he's just like, hey, who killed Thor? Secretly, I'm jealous. And, I'm the good son now. I'm gonna direct kind of a war with Midgard because I can now. And I just love that turn of like, okay, you think for a mere moment, you think, is Loki going to become an Avenger and like a new recruiting of who our Avengers lineup would be now that we've killed off all the mains? But no, he's going to take over because of course he's going to take over. Why would he be an Avenger?
Yeah.
And it just it was kind of a great subversion at the end, and a little hopeful note with Captain Marvel and Captain America, which we see paid off later, which is great. Now, Gulliver, were you traumatized as well by the Hulk's death, or is it just me in this?
Yeah, it was sad.
Right? I think everyone was kind of traumatized by that a little bit.
It's like, honestly, still like the creepiest thing I've seen in the whole show. I mean, there's a couple runners up for sure, but just like the Hulk becoming, and it's kind of an appropriate fate for that character because
that's another thing I really like about this is how creative the Ant-Man kills were.
Yeah. I haven't seen creative kills like this since Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe.
Right.
It's like the Hulk dies in like kind of like an atomic cloud of sorts, or something kind of ironic there.
All right. I think that's about it, right?
Yeah, and Coulson's a little off. I think the Coulson humor was. I think we should have reigned Clark Gregg.
I think the Coulson humor was basically like trying to account for post Taika Waititi MCU tone, and it felt off in Phase 1. That's exactly what I think happened.
Yeah,
it's a good way to look at it, I think.
Yep.
Okay, so let's go on to the episode that we're not going to have unpopular opinions about at all. What if Doctor Strange lost? Guys, the internet is just wild about this one.
I know, I don't get it.
This is unanimously the most popular one. Unanimously. And Gulliver, we had you on for this, and it's like, like the three of us had a myriad of issues with this. It was like, to me, it was like the first one of the four where it's like, oh, that one felt a little off. I don't know.
Look, we're not misremembering that, right? You were you weren't crazy about this one too.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, I just want to be sure.
I think
it's like and there's the three people on the internet that don't see the magic of this thing.
I think there's something to be enjoyed in every single episode of the series. I don't want to say that there's I don't want to say that there's an episode that I did not enjoy at all. There are moments in all of them that are great, but I think in the episodes that fall flat a lot more, what I end up focusing on is the animation and the artistic qualities of the show. the use of color and light to help tell the story. And I think when I started to see, where they were going with this one, and I was just like, okay, so this is just going to be Fridging followed by Sad Strange. Like, as soon as I got to that, I started paying attention.
Someone play the Sad Strange music.
Yeah, I started.
I really don't like the implication that this character is like. I mean, it's like, to me, the what if of this whole scenario is broken.
It just drives me crazy, Tiki. That's the thing that drives me insane.
It is inherently a broken concept for me. It's like, it's literally like, I don't.
I can explain. I know exactly why
go ahead,
it doesn't work. It just drives me insane. I'm baffled no one else has an issue with the faulty what if on this one, because it's like, hey, all right, so Doctor Strange, by the title stuff, he does not lose his hands. Okay, now look, even if he does lose Christine, which I mean that they probably started off dating anyway. Before they became.
I've got to save Christine. I'm sorry, I got that out of my system.
Yes. So, regardless, it is the fact that, so even relationship or not, whether they had that in the past or not, which, I mean, again, the point being, he was with Palmer in this what if. It's just the fact that, so he went to Comertage for a very specific purpose. He exhausted every other resource to fix his hands. A very achievable goal, it seems. I can fix my hands. I can't cure death, but I can fix my hands. And again, hence he heard from the Benjamin Bratt character of like, yeah, I fixed my back. I went to Comertage. Yeah, open my mind. He's going to get spiritual enlightenment and everything. And it just, that in itself is a problem where, he doesn't go to Comertage for that very specific purpose. I don't buy he would just go there for grieving. And secondly, without Christine in the picture for Doctor Strange, is basically giving us the what if. So Doctor Strange happens exactly the same except the origin, and then we just end up what happens after Doctor Strange, like in between.
And that's pretty much the exact same problem I have with the Killmonger episode. Is it's like, it's the exact same story except it takes place a little earlier in the timeline. Awesome.
Well, we'll get into that, but
we'll get there.
It's just the fact that, like, hey, we don't have like that cool astral projection hospital fight because Christine's not there. I don't think we have like the ancient ones, like the kind of death scene there either.
Also, like, the ancient one pisses me off with the whole like, the death of Christine is the only probability that would lead you to become the sorcerer.
Yeah, the absolute point thing. Yeah.
No, it's not. No, it's not. We literally see in the movie that it's not.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Gulliver, thoughts?
Yeah, go on.
Yeah, no, I agree with what you're saying. I feel like, the seeing him go from somebody who has all this hubris to somebody who, has to, learn to build respect and build others is critical to the story of Doctor Strange. And it's not something that happens here. I don't believe that he would become this, like studious version of himself with, any kind of noble qualities until he loses his hands, until he loses, his privilege.
Yeah.
In this scenario. So I don't really buy the premise either, but I will say that this episode has the most appealing art.
Yeah, the back half.
No doubt about that.
All of the like magic and creatures, fucking awesome. Love it. So I think, the other episodes, like Party Thor episodes, the arts pass. There's nothing interesting whatsoever in that episode except for maybe some of the fight with Captain Marvel. But like, this episode did have really good art.
It's kind of like it's like a dark Ditko meets Mike Mignola, right? It's kind of a dark psychedelics, like a black light psychedelics sort of thing going on. And that's the thing. I think the episode's getting so much buzz because the back half with the art style and with the action and with kind of like the ending, that's great. But again, everyone's forgetting what gets us there, not so great.
Mm-hmm.
And there is paying attention, like, because Doctor Strange is cool and he's been delivering in the MCU up to this point. Obviously, a lot is going to be resting on his shoulders going forward. So a lot of people are on the Doctor Strange train already.
The Doctor Strange train.
And of course, it's funny because we've seen that trailer. He's going to be manifesting some trains.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're all on that train. And look, again, it's cool what we do here. And again, I love the fact that one of the few people, after all that power he absorbs in that sequence, it becomes like the monstrous version of Doctor Strange. Like, his ego has turned him into a monster. That's cool. He just like, he's able to see the Watcher and have that moment with him. That's amazing. And that's what people are leaving the episode with. But guys, we were lied to get there. I love the sadness on the Watcher, unable to interfere, which, of course, big setup for for season 1. I swore an oath not to interfere, which is going to be put to task later. So it's again, if we're gonna, I think that's the most artful tragedy we had. Like, Doctor Strange left by himself in that pocket dimension, practically. So that's again, artistically, it's got a lot going for it. Action wise, got a lot going for it. Just writing wise, not so much.
Okay. All right. Next up, what if zombies?
Yeah.
Pass.
This is it's not the best written episode by any means. I will give you that. Gulliver, I totally agree with you that
dialogue is so shit.
What?
The dialogue is so shit in this episode.
Really, you don't care.
Nobody sounds like themselves. It's just
Peter Parker sounds like himself.
Kind of.
He said the word Gulliver. Let us have this.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, all right, Gulliver. I mean, it's like, honestly, Gulliver, you are obviously in the majority of people's opinions. Like, this is not a popular episode, but I like it for a number of reasons. First of all, I really do like the fact that the what if in itself is, I like the fact that it's plopped down smack dab in the middle of Infinity War. Like,
I never would have predicted that setting going into this.
Yeah. But honestly, I think the dialogue's maybe a little, I think certain characters are really on brand and certain characters aren't. I think Happy Hogan is very on brand. I think that Vision, I feel like some people think that Vision is a little dark and he wouldn't go that far, but I don't know. It's I feel like it was cool to kind of see the inverse of Wanda's desperation from WandaVision, so I kind of bought it. But most importantly for me, I'm a big classic Spider-Man fan, and I've been pretty openly I'm not a huge fan of Tom Holland's Spider-Man in the sense that even though I liked Far From Home a lot, as far as just being a fun kind of action movie, I think this was by far the most pathos that we've gotten for Tom Holland Spider-Man, and I love the whole thing of him. The whole talk of him using humor to mask the tragedy in his life. That to me was maybe the most Peter Parker that we have ever seen Tom Holland in the MCU in that moment. And it wasn't even Tom Holland, I know, but just go with it.
I hate, by the way, I just want to call this out, because I still really hate the fact that all these stupid clickbaity articles, they've replaced Captain America, they've replaced Spider-Man, they've replaced Iron Man. No, they haven't, guys. They couldn't shell out the cash or get Sony to say yes on those. It's not like the recast.
I mean, I think the episode is intentionally tongue-in-cheek. I don't think that, obviously, I feel like it's a little bit of total whiplash coming after the Doctor Strange episode, but I kind of like that. I don't know, man. I'm a big sucker for Marvel Zombies to begin with. It's honestly one of the concepts in comics that kind of got me back into Marvel, before the MCU was
one
really
of the original what ifs, one could say. Not
right,
the original,
right, exactly. So, so I don't know. This was pretty much everything I wanted. I understand it's not everyone's cup of tea. I'm a big horror movie guy. I love horror cliches, and I thought this was really on brand for what the MCU would be like in that kind of setting. I don't know.
I like the ragtag, Avengers that we've assembled here. I love just kind of, in kind of our apocalyptic setting. Spider-Man, Wasp, Bucky, Bruce Banner, who I love as kind of our POV character with the Infinity War of it all.
I thought Bruce Banner was also really on brand.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I like structurally where we start so much of he's been out of the game for 2 years. What if he came back, only instead of Thanos coming, it's Thanos coming during the zombie apocalypse. And we got the Cloak of Levitation, Happy Hogan, the kind of the oddballs as well within our team here. So Yes, Kurt. Yes, the one from Dave the Smulchin coming back. Koye, yeah.
I
And
think it's kind of trippy that Dave Dishmulshin had like a banner summer with Suicide Squad, and then he just happens to pop up in this in like the most random spot.
yeah, and he's Calendar Man. He's he's all
Right,
over the
right.
place, as he always has. Though only now people are recognizing it, which is kind of feels refreshing.
But
Yeah,
Gulliver, I don't want to just say like your opinion is wrong. So
No, that's
by all
fine.
means, I want to hear what you have to say.
I felt like Ant-Man and Wasp and Widow all just felt so flat to me. Even Hawkeye was just flat. Like they didn't really have any personality. Just everything that even Bucky, like everything they had to say was expository dialogue.
Literally, the four
And then
that you mentioned, I think, are the four that feel off.
Yeah,
as far
and
as
then
characterization goes.
with Ant-Man, I feel like they just like told the actor. I don't know if it was Paul Rudd or not. It didn't
No,
sound
it was
like
Paul
him.
Rudd. Yeah.
Okay, I feel like they just told him to just like improvise shit and didn't actually write anything for him.
Oh,
'Cause
I'm a
it
head
just-
in a jar.
Yeah,
I mean, it is possible.
So yeah, I don't know. Just the writing really fell flat for me, and I was just like, okay, so I guess this is a game where we figure out which two of these 10 heroes live.
Yeah,
And then I just like I was waiting for it to happen because they I mean it was almost like just like if you timed it out, like every 2 to 3 minutes somebody else would die, and just like you could almost see it coming for every single one.
I love just how think about it, just how violent
I mean,
the
Gulliver,
episode
like I said,
is
is a horror movie fan. I like a good slasher movie, and so to me, like the game of figuring
But
out
like a little bit because like some the characters are not always the beacons of morality or coolness. They're kind of like shitty teenagers or like survivors that were survivors through dumb luck. So like you kind of want the slasher to kill some of these people, but I didn't want anybody of these people to become zombies.
That's fair.
So like
That's fair.
it felt like a little bit of a different vibe for me. But I do see what you're saying, though. And I think if you're looking at it from that perspective, then it probably feels a little bit more enjoyable.
Yeah, something, of course, here I was really shocked that we had, we had Bozeman again, as we had like the wounded Bozeman here, where again, unfortunately, in the latter two Bozeman appearances, well, technically four, but let's just say in the middle, our tragedy was with Bozeman in the middle. You can hear him getting a little weaker towards the end, and I do feel oddly they kind of fit within the episodes when they happened. Oddly, where at least in these two, where he's kind of. This is gonna be a horrible pun to make, but I mean, kind of on his last leg because he lost a leg in the zombie one. But no, seriously, there's the fact that there was kind of like that.
Oh my god, why wasn't Rocket a part of this episode? By the way, with all the
I'll tell you why. Again, if they do a part 2 to this, Thor and the Guardians could save the day in part 2. They're gonna help.
Oh, there you go.
Help out. Which,
by
by
the way, other thing. Sorry, just have to interject. That was the other thing that was great about T'Challa Star-Lord episode was that there wasn't like the Rocket and Groot show happening that was taking away from everything else that was happening. Because don't get me wrong, Rocket and Groot are fun, but I think James Gunn likes them more than he likes whatever the plot is of any Guardians movie.
I mean, I love Guardians, but yeah, that's a fair point.
Because I feel like he gives them a lot of screen time and they don't always move the plot forward when they're on screen. So, yeah.
But yeah, speaking for a moment, again, I love the Wakanda ending, though. I love, like, okay, so we're heading to Wakanda. We got the Mind Stone, which could, in theory, cure the zombie apocalypse. But I love, like, the bittersweet ending of we could be delivering the last stone to a zombie Thanos who's waiting.
I don't like that ending.
Really?
I'm sorry, Dragon.
Well, okay, why?
Well, first of all, it's like he's literally a zombie, so even if they arrive, it's not like it's gonna be that hard to kill him.
No, he's got 5 Infinity Stones though, and he could take out the Hulk even as a zombie.
Okay, this goes back to an argument that we were having in the episode proper when we were talking about it. Like,
yeah,
I feel like this episode isn't exactly clear on how the zombies like some characters in zombie form are more in control of their power sets than others. And that is honestly like the biggest nitpick I have with the episode. All right.
Well, that's the thing. Of all the episodes, it seems like if we're going to get a part two to anything, because this has been challenged now that we have the finale, which kind of wrapped up certain stories, that was a really great delight to me. Like, okay, we're not going to like have the second season full of just continuations, which would have been a problem. Like, guys, there's a whole bunch of what ifs we could pick. Actually, when they were picking the episodes, they pitched 30 what ifs to Kevin Feige, and he picked the winners, and that's kind of what they worked with for their selection process. So Feige signed off on all these. So, yeah. Anyway, but yeah. So I mean, imagine if we're doing a part two, it would be the continuation of this out of anything. But I mean, there is kind of a something that you said.
Either
like,
that or maybe Captain Carter.
Well, I'm saying that one to me feels like a certainty as well as this one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. It's actually going forward. I mean, there is kind of a standalone element to okay, they're going to their dooms, and again, just then it's kind of hitting the tragedy button again. It's like, and there's the tragedy button versus the hopeful button. But again, for me, I'd like to hit the third button, which is, we're going to see the continuation. The continuation button of maybe it's not all said and done. Maybe it's not all kind of dour in this one. We got Thor and the Guardians in space who are supposed to show up during this fight. So I mean, we might have some backup for our stragglers. Who knows?
Sure. Okay. Oh boy, I'm not good. This is the one I'm really not going to be popular with. What if Killmonger rescued Tony Stark? Guys, it's literally just Killmonger's plot from the first movie, just executed earlier in the timeline. That's all it is. This episode is so boring to me, honestly.
Oh, come on, boring.
I genuinely think it's boring. Like I think it would be interesting if Tony Stark actually lived through it all, and it was kind of like Killmonger's like maybe if Tony Stark was like the replacement for Claw, and he like lived through like most of the episode. But like as it stands now, it's like Tony Stark gets killed off like a third of the way through.
No, halfway through. He gets killed halfway through.
All right, but still, it's like I don't know, man.
Yeah, the ending is telegraphed too hard. I would agree with Tiki. Just like, each plot point was, and how will Killmonger fuck over you? And how will Killmonger fuck over you?
And Gulliver, what you were saying about this to me was like the most exhausting of the it's just heroes getting killed off, And I don't know. This one really does. Honestly, out of all the episodes, this is the one that really doesn't sit well with me.
All right. Well, to speak to something. Okay. First of all, yeah, it was a really weird pattern we had this season. We're just going to keep killing off Tony Stark. with one exception, which doesn't really count because I'm ticked off about how that episode went down.
They just really don't like the voice actor that they got for him.
I don't think that's the case, but.
Oh, fuck, we can't have this guy in more than half the episode. He's killing us.
Or we're killing him. But no, it's just like the fact that, the Tony Stark did not need to die in this one specifically.
That's honestly, if you change that around and make Tony a more active figure in the story, I think that instantly raises the intrigue in this episode.
I mean, I do like the component of on the rewatch where it's kind of strategy versus intellect. Again, like the strategy of Killmonger, who basically we hyped up in Black Panther. His whole thing is about destabilizing. He's destabilizing countries from within and all that stuff, which we basically see in Black Panther. In this case, he's destabilizing the foundation of the MCU with Iron Man 1, which was a setting I really like to revisit, by the way. Like, hey, we're going all the way back to Iron Man 1. We had that awesome press conference where we got like
the press conference is easily the best scene in the episode for sure.
Also, in a sense, Killmonger versus Ironmonger.
right.
In itself is fun. Just seeing
seriously, like Killmonger, just like the way he just like so coldly and casually just drops that, it's very on brand for him.
That's what I'm saying. That's the big thing of the episode. It's so much fun to watch, even if it is the same plot line from Black Panther. It's just really cool to see him in this different context.
And I like the fact that this canonizes Killmonger being an anime fan too.
Yeah, that too as well. There's a lot of fun there. And of course, for me, a big part of the episode too is that there was that surprise factor of not only killing Tony Stark halfway through, but the fact that, and again, it's like kind of like a should have had a V8 moment of like, of course Black Panther's going to be in this episode. Why did? Because everyone's thinking, oh yeah, we're only thinking about him as the child of Star-Lord. We're not thinking that he could pop up in other spots during the season because they record.
But I mean, he pops up just to instantly die.
But here's the thing:
I
He does.
know. He gets that speech at the end, and
That
it's great.
speech
I
is
know.
tremendous and very memorable,
It
almost as
is.
memorable
It
as what
is.
we do is the Child Starler. Only more in the kind of if you're going to do kind of a tragic button to an episode, that's the one to do. That's kind of that's the thinker out, you know. It's
Sure.
just again just the fact that and also rewatching the season, something occurs to me with this one that kind of makes it even better too is the fact of so we have the big scene in the ancestral plane, which is just makes a lot of sense because, of course, the previous king, would be it was the previous guy would be on the ancestral plane, be T'Challa. So,
Mhm.
so the fact that we kind of have amidst Killmonger having his whole Shakespearean kind of Monte Cristo, what's that story called again? The Count of
Count of
Monte
Monte
The
Cristo.
Cask of Amontillado, or are you talking about the
Yeah,
Count
yeah,
of Monte Cristo?
yeah, the one with the wine cellar fate.
Yeah, Cask of Amontillado.
Thank you, Cast of Montiago.
Edgar Allan Poe.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, so it's very kind of Edgar Allan Poe-esque of like, okay, he's going after. I just love the fact that Killmonger he's going after T'Chaka and he doesn't even know. It's just like, oh, I'm great with T'Chaka right now. He has no idea that I'm gunning for him with revenge, or he's just the fact that just T'Chaka isn't concerned at all. That he just doesn't really, almost that he doesn't. He's just completely wiped it from the records, which is what Killmonger's all about, like avoiding people wiping all this bad history from the records. Which I also love is the whole we stuck to his ideology so well in this episode. Like when he's calling out, the racial ideology as well. He's calling out like Rhodey for like why you fight their wars, and the Tony Stark trying to make the plea we're very similar. The fact you can't see a difference between us is why this is happening. And the whole like we even allowed Claw to be racist in this, which I was like, okay, well, we are not shying away from anything here. He calls the Wakandan savages. Killmonger doesn't like that and instantly kills him right there for his plan. So we hit all that so well, and we just have that moment with T'Challa at the end where he's saying, your unearned power, will come to roost, and was it all worth it? And just the fact that by the end of things, Killmonger's lust for unearned power is going to become like an infinite lust as he's just stuck in that little pocket dimension. He will always be lusting for power eternally, and that is his fate. And I love that kind of T'Challa kind of saw the writing on the wall with this guy with that. So it's really. Maybe it is a bit of a rehash, but it's still really fun to watch. At the end of the day, it's fun to watch. I think we hit like a really impactful note at the end.
I disagree with all of that. I'm sorry.
Like all of it, not even a little.
I did find it fun to watch. I thought the ending was lame. It was literally like the most like, oh hey, like we need 10 more minutes of the episode, but it's just not here.
Okay, I will call out something in the negative though. With there are again the persistent kind of writing issues. I just feel, unfortunately, it feels like we didn't watch the movie enough times, which I feel is kind of sad. Where it's like, yeah, our ages don't line up here with Shuri and everything. If you really think about it, like I can give Killmonger a pass because we talked about this during the live coverage when we first did it. We questioned the bumps. I rewatched it. Then they were accurate on the bumps. Like he didn't have all the bumps on his body. So like he was like at an age before he was completely covered head to toe, like he would be 10 years later. So anyway, I can buy that. But Shuri is like she's supposed to be like 6. I don't know if I buy that.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so again, yeah.
There are some okay written interactions that were nice, but it just, I mean, the ending was telegraphed so hard. You knew what was coming. It didn't really feel impactful in a lot of ways.
All right.
So that just, it didn't do much for me.
Oh, boy.
And again, a bad guy's win ending.
I'm nervous about this one. Gulliver.
Really? You're nervous about this one?
Just because I know that Gulliver and I are going to strongly disagree, probably.
Okay, so this one I think we can agree not for the Ragnarok haters out there. Not for the people who aren't crazy about the really strong comedic direction with Thor.
I mean, I think Gulliver really likes Ragnarok, but I still don't get the vibe.
Well, no, I'm sorry, I wasn't specific. I know a lot of people who really are just not feeling they're very anti-Ragnarok. I'm not saying you are, but just in general. Like, there's a lot of people. If you don't like Ragnarok, I don't think people are going to like this one at all.
Yeah. So my big issue with this episode is that they establish early on that the world's going to end unless we stop this party, and that Jane Foster is going to step in and save the day. And then she does a bunch of partying for 20 minutes, and then Thor and Captain Marvel fight, and that's the end of the episode.
We never really hit that button too well. Like the world's gonna end if this party goes on. I don't know about that.
Well, like because they established that thing where Thor like destroyed this other planet when he shows up.
All right, that
and Jane's just like, I don't know, that seems fine. I'm like, what?
She did ask him if it happened. He said no.
Yeah, this
like,
episode
what's just it feels like there's no stakes. There's no like, you know, is it just a big party, or they're cleaning it up? Like, oh, Thor has to get home in time to do his homework.
I agree.
Like, it's just so much fucking around and not very much like storytelling. And a little bit of fucking around is great because it adds, you know, flavor and personality to stories that are more expository. But I don't know. It didn't seem like there were a ton of stakes. And like, it's great to get more Captain Marvel screen time, and seeing her battle Thor is cool. You know, Jane Foster obviously deserves more screen time, but I think she was really played as dumber than she is in this episode. I don't think she was written particularly well.
But Howard the Duck, Gulliver.
Yeah,
well,
I
I heard something, TK.
our opinions do differ on Howard the Duck, so there's that.
I heard something really fun about the Howard the Duck thing for this episode, Tiki. I heard that the AC Bradley, you know, the showrunner, she kind of pitched this. I believe when she might have been drunk one night when she pitched this, because she basically did the scratch for Darcy, which sounded kind of similar. That's where she got the idea of, like, she basically pitched lines of like Darcy, you know, being in this marriage, this Vegas marriage with Howard, and just kind of caught on.
Oh my god,
that's what I heard. So it's just, yeah.
I completely get what people don't like about this. I completely get it. This to me is like pretty much the biggest, like, it's total fan service, and I am the type of fan that likes this kind of like stupid shit. I totally acknowledge that it is stupid. I totally acknowledge that it is.
There's fun bits.
Dumb.
I had one writing issue with this one. Otherwise, I like it, but it was like kind of a major.
I think
issue.
the what if is just inherently just wrong.
How so?
I think the what if should have just been called like what if Thor threw the biggest party in the universe or something. Like, because the Loki thing, like, it barely matters. It barely matters.
I don't think we glazed completely over it, though, where we saw, you know, when the chips were down, Loki wasn't there for him because they're not blood brothers, essentially. You know? Like, they're bros, not brothers, if you had to kind of put on a bumper sticker, you know? You know, it's just he's not in Thor's shadow, ergo, no jealousy or rivalry, but also when the chips are down, there's no, like, deep down, like, you know, we're brothers. No, that's going to save him. Like, okay, we'll see. I'm going to get out of your hair right now. Like, come on, Loki, no, come back. Yeah. See, the problem for me, though, just the bridge off of what Gulliver's been saying, is that I feel S.H.I.E.L.D.'s response was completely wrong in this episode. And that's what bothered me. I think that messes with the stakes, which kind of leads into your thing, Gulliver, is the fact that our response to what the stakes are is just like, it's great to have Maria Hill back. Unfortunately, I wish we gave her stronger writing. Yeah, you know, where it's this thing where, okay, so she's going to call in Captain Marvel, who is not known for her diplomacy. But that said, the point being, we at least do a cool fight nonetheless. And I mean, the episode does have like a cool kind of like 80s party movie throwback to it, which is fun. But you know, like S.H.I.E.L.D. like calling in a nuke to deal with like, okay, so we're going to be partying, which is going to cause a little bit of property damage, sure, but like everyone's like talking about the tonal issues and something like Marvel in the Marvel Zombies episode, which, yeah, I mean, look, Ant-Man's, you know, we called out the fact that he's deflecting. It's an episode where people are being eaten and turned into zombies. So a little levity is not the end of the world in Zombies. But here it's like, hey, so we're going to maim Nick Fury in a really silly way. So Maria Hill it becomes, you know, in charge. Where it's like Corey's going to go for a cannonball, and he's just like, ball cannons, more accurately, and he's just gonna like, you know, kind of you know, throw Nick Fury out of commission in a serious way. Like that's a mixed bag for me. That's where things aren't working. And like, we're gonna nuke him. Wait, really? We're gonna nuke Captain Marvel, who's on our side? Yeah, she'll be fine. None of that's tracking for me. That's a problem I have with the episodes. Like that feels all wrong. Kind of our fun episode.
And like I said, I totally like it is like probably towards the bottom of my rankings. I think there's some episode like I like it better than Killmonger just because I wasn't bored, but that's honestly about it. Like, I'd still rank it towards the bottom, but I Still had a lot of fun with it though. So
Honestly, the most fun element of the episode for me, my favorite part of it, I love Jane and Thor's relationship. I mean, I thought it was really cute, and like I was rooting for those two crazy kids to get together, and it's a lot of fun. Like they got the matching tattoos and everything, science and magic. It was cute.
all right. Okay, next up we have What If Ultron won?
Like, it's one of my favorites.
This one was really solid. Definitely.
This episode has the second best artwork after Strange.
Yeah, it's really cool.
That's what I'll say. Yeah, I do think they did a good job of letting Jeffrey Wright kind of embody the Watcher a lot in this episode and sort of question his existence and purpose and stuff. So there's some good writing and some good performance stuff there. Great art. But again, kind of telegraphed the ending. Like, he's not going to resist this. It's just a lot of running away from danger and pain and crazy ass magic and stuff.
Yeah, Infinity Ultron, which apparently is his official name, so I actually called that. I was completely shocked that we were going to go with Infinity Ultron because it's kind of fit, but it's cool. So Infinity Ultron to me is like one of the cool. Is my favorite thing to come out of season one. I think it's like the coolest idea ever, and it's like, oh man, this is just like, just one of the sweetest. Like when I saw at the end of Party Thor, I was like, okay, well, Party Thor is a phone, and then oh my god, what is this? And then next episode was
right.
Infinity Ultron, just the idea of okay, Ultron won, he got his way, he got his vision body. He then gets this sweet Ultron armor, which is a little indicative of his Iron Man parentage with the way the helmet comes down. He's got he's got all 6 Infinity Stones. He's got a cape and he's got a lance, like an anime lance.
Yeah.
This looks amazing, and then we do kind of like an Ozymandias story with him, or an Ozymandias story where he's wiped out all life in the MCU interplay. He's Asgard's Xandar. He's taken out Captain Marvel, split Thanos down the middle. He's so unstoppable. He's conquered everything, and what's left? Well, because he has all 6 stones, he can see the Watcher. I love the premise on this one so much. And that said, the biggest pet peeve I have the entire season of all the celebrities we didn't get James Spader. I've been waiting for James Spader ever since WandaVision. The fact that we still have not gotten him. And for this one, the coolest idea ever. We didn't get him back for it. And nothing against Ross Marquardt. He's a great Red Skull, but come on. It's still very apparent it's not him.
Yeah. Yeah, the impression was not the best.
Yeah, it's a shame.
I kind of wish he would have done like his own spin on it instead of trying to do the impression.
Yeah, it's like a no-win situation, It's either not going to be Ultron, or it's like if they're going to make him Ultron, at least filter him so at least you could say, okay, well, we didn't get the guy, so he's made him more metallic sounding, so it covers like the traditional Ultron, like put like a filter on him,
Yeah,
I don't know, but also amazing fight with the art style, as Gulliver mentioned earlier. Uatu, man, I just love that he's been on the edge of his seat the whole time, but like he wants Black Widow and Hawkeye to like find the box, that one, right? Don't give up now. Go. He's invested like the audiences to find Zola and which by the way,
that's definitely one of my favorite scenes of the series, just because like I honestly kind of got sick of the Watcher like towards the middle of the season, because I'm like, all right, guy, like you're kind of setting up the same sort of shit over and over again. But I thought he did come into his own towards the end.
Yeah, I love that we set up a little backdoor for Zola where, hey, remember that Siberian Hydra base from the big climax of Civil War? Maybe there was another Zola there. So maybe if we ever do them again, we have a way of getting more Zola in the action. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Right. So of course, big Watcher versus Infinity Ultron. Kind of the loophole there. Well, it's self-defense, so it's not exactly interfering. He's kind of preserving the universe and himself. Headbutting the guy a few times. Did not expect, as many people have said, Watcher and Dragon Ball Z armor. That's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yep.
All right.
That brings us to the finale. All right, Gulliver. So So we get to the finale, and how you feeling about it?
I think the strongest thing about this episode is like the elements of camaraderie, like what we gotten in the Avengers movies, and like the Civil War and some of the other ones that have more specific team ups. I think some of the dialogue and like the character relationship moments were pretty strong in this one, particularly with Captain Carter and Zombie versus Widow. They did a good job of building those relationships, and as always, Star-Lord T'Challa steals the show. His charisma knows no bounds. I don't understand like why is Killmonger there? Why is Doctor Strange there? This version of Doctor Strange.
That's my biggest issue with the
Why
episode.
is Party Thor there?
Oh well, Doctor Strange is there clearly because you saw all he did in the fight. Though Doctor Strange is actually really helpful, though.
Yeah, I mean, and he is absolutely the most powerful, as would make sense in that scenario. But
I honestly think that the protection spell that Doctor Strange gives them is like it kind of nerfs the whole thing in some ways.
I'm convinced. So here are the elements in this episode I'm convinced we're going to see in Doctor Strange too, like the protection spell and like the pocket dimension particularly. I'm convinced that pocket dimension thing is going to come back.
Well, it's the mirror dimension, isn't it?
Well, no, I mean, what I'm saying, like with the one we miniaturized, Zola and Killmonger.
Oh yeah.
So that thing particularly, and I don't know, the protection spell feels like something like they've thrown a lot. They've thrown it a lot at us this season. Makes me think we're going to see that come into play when we have like some battle scenes during Multiverse of Madness.
Mm-hmm.
And again, the Shuma Gorath thing, I think, because I just love that we had a moment here where Captain Carter recognized, hey, I know those tentacle things. That's what kind of sent me into the future, taking care of those things. I don't know. I mean, after this episode with Doctor Strange, I'm convinced that I'm off the Mephisto train. Like, if Doctor Strange is not who he says he is, I'm convinced it's going to be this whole Doctor Strange Supreme, the dark Doctor Strange character. I think that's who it's going to be. If it's not him in that, and No Way Home specifically. I mean.
It could be, but I think it would be a weird thing for them to bring the animated verse into the live action verse.
Yeah, it's a fair point, but yeah, I'm not necessarily hoping they're going to do that, but it just feels like if everyone's saying, "Oh, that wink," it's a little suspicious. Why'd agree to this? I mean, this Doctor Strange is a little more cavalier after he kind of doomed his whole universe. So, I mean, I'd buy it. But I hear your point though. The action was really great in this too. Like we threw with the kind of our Doctor Strange enhancement. Like we threw like all the many Mjolnirs. We had we dropped a whole metric ton of zombies on Ultron. Yep, a lot of fun there. I love the we replicated the Endgame moment with Scarlet Witch. Just love I was on the edge of my seat, like, oh, it's not the zombies, it's what came with them. Wait, what came with them? It's like, oh my god, yes, that's right, Scarlet Witch. We've doubled down on way more powerful than Thanos. This Infinity Ultron, he can. Widow, Scarlet Witch not quite scared by this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm trying to think if there's something major where. Big thing with the episode, we subverted all of our season 2 speculation, as I kind of alluded to earlier, which is great. I honestly, with that too, I love that at the end. For me, I think we referenced everything in the season really well. I think we kind of paid everything off nicely. Again, like the zombies during the battle, and particularly when we're all in the pub at the end, we're asking, and Black Widow is asking, like, can't you fix my universe? You've already intervened. And he's saying, like, you don't do anything. You watch us in misery. So like, your stories mean everything to me. Like they're my world. And the fact that he can't interfere, but he finds this lovely loophole of, well, I can't fix your universe, but there is a universe where there's kind of an opening for a Black Widow, and he kind of helps her out there. So like, we paid off all the episodes in a way, with the exception of one, which I should rant about. Real quick. So Gamora really apparently.
Quick, Greg, and I'm losing it.
All right.
In terms of my health, I feel shitty. So.
All right. Okay.
Let's wrap this up.
Okay, so just real quick, it just baffles me to know, and apparently, like halfway during the episode, we didn't do that whole Gamora and Iron Man on Sakaar, which I'm convinced like the what if was okay. What if Iron Man didn't return from the wormhole in Avengers? Like he ended up on Sakaar, befriended a different daughter of Thanos, and kind of went from
Interesting.
there. That's my theory. So just Peeves is the fact that they're probably going to save it for next season, but it's going to be what's the point now if that episode's supposed to end with, and we're going to get recruited by the Watcher? You know, it's like, come on.
Yeah.
Real quick, last thing, Gulliver, what do you think about the post-credit scene?
I'm kind of indifferent, I guess. I want to see where they go with it, as with just about anything Marvel. But like, I will admit, I'm not like no plot seeds were set up in this that I am I am glued to. I'm on the edge of my seat for. I would like to see more of the T'Challa Star-Lord stuff, but obviously that's a lot more complicated, given that they planned all this and recorded it before Chadwick passed. So I don't know. I'm kind of indifferent. Marvel is something that I will always check out. I will keep watching and see what they do, but I don't know if this show was one of my favorites. I do think it's the weakest of their streaming set thus far.
Yeah, we did make some cavalier mistakes. Like for a big one, everyone pointed out to me after the episode, which I have to bring up here. Otherwise, the Loki plot hole where, hey, Black Widow's come back and she's taken out Loki, with Loki never gets the Loki pokey stick. He never gets the Mind Stone. How does that work? It's like, yeah, we've made some egregious writing issues here and there during the season. So hopefully season 2 will avoid making certain errors like that. I'm a little worried about the Captain Carter continuation, because as much as I want to see it, like how the heck it's like we're teasing she's found Steve again, which may or may not go Winter Soldier direction, which it sounds amazing on paper. It makes me think we just should have ambiguously killed him off in the episode. If like
that's what I was thinking that they were going to do on the bridge scene.
Yeah, that's the thing. In retrospect, and seeing where it ends, it's like we just should have done that. So it's a bigger reveal at the end.
I kind of agree.
Because now the reason I'm a little worried about it now is like, hey, he was fine at the end of that. It was him and Howard Stark and the gang at the end, like all safe and happy. He was not taken in by Hydra. And so, I mean, I guess either just Hydra work at parading around his shield just got him in the end for some reason, which he has no super soldier serum. I don't get why they'd pick him other than spite. I don't know. So we're going to see. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing it. Hopefully it makes sense. Is hoping on the whole we tighten up the writing next season, because I did enjoy a lot of what if, but we'll see. Again, I think we ended strong. I think we ended strong on the season, but definitely some hanging chads.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and I guess that wraps us up, right?
I think so. Want to do some plugging?
Yeah, plug away, buddy.
Yeah, there's a new episode of our podcast, Dead North, which just came out. It is horror audio designed for a podcast format, and it's all original content. There's some kind of Lovecraftian stuff in this new episode, and a few other pieces as well. I haven't gotten through all of it yet because it just came out today, and I literally got handed the audio by my producer for the podcast. So, but yeah, so far it's really good, and the content from the previous episodes has been really great all around. So if you like original kind of geeky horror, I would recommend checking it out. You can find it at hotchocolatemedia.net, or you can search Dead North on wherever you get your podcasts.
Great. All right, well, that'll do it for us this week as we holster our remotes till the next installment calls for the draw. Mano y mano. Just Plus and Us.
They'll be watching you.